for a Q&A session. Does anyone have any Qs? And I will try and have the A's. Don't have to be shy. I'm happy to answer whatever you want to ask. If you just want to find out something simple, it's fine. First off, I'll get to you at the back later. There's someone here, I think. Yeah? Speak up.
Thank you for this inspiring talk tonight. It means a lot to me because I've been trying to practice. What I want to ask is, on good days, I can very well and for a long time. But there are certain days where I can't. I think it's normal. Now, my question here is, should I train the elephant, continue training the elephant to meet my timeline? For example, I could meditate for an hour a week, but sometimes I can't. I get up at half an hour. Should I just grab a focus that morning, or just continue sitting until the hour is up?
Well, sometimes we have to have a general goal in our practice, and not always, but generally it's probably good to have a period of time you're going to try and complete, because then you develop some discipline, brings up effort. And our teacher, Ajahn Chah, always used to say, try to practice. You've seen it as a good thing, it's a good thing for you. And develop this attitude, whether you're peaceful, you'll do it. Whether you're not peaceful, you'll still do it. Whether you want to meditate, you'll do it, or you don't want to meditate, you'll still do it. Because you're learning to have this kind of attitude of being more in the middle, even towards your own mental experience. So you feel inspired and enthusiastic, you feel bored and fed up, doesn't matter, you'll still do it. And even with your body, your physical state, unless you're really ill or something, okay, if you're ill then you may have to change things, but if it's just you feel a bit tired, a few aches and pains, well, see if you can just be mindful of them rather than just stop. Because you're learning to develop a certain amount of effort, patience, mindfulness that can cope with many different things, the good and the bad, the happiness and the sadness. That's what the Buddha was encouraging us to so that we can really develop strong mindfulness and insight. Mindfulness and insight doesn't choose like, I'm only going to meditate when I feel good. That's a bit like the weather, isn't it? I'll only go out when it's nice and sunny, but when it's rainy, no, I can't do anything. You're stuck then, you're limited. You have to learn how to practice even with the different moods that come up, even when you're sad, suffering. Try to practice your mindfulness. So then, say you set a goal, I'm going to sit for a period of time, say 1 hour. Well, you'll experience many mood changes and different thoughts and memories will come up during that 1 hour. And sometimes you'll feel really good, and sometimes a lot of pain, sometimes very peaceful, sometimes really extreme, different moods come up, and it's very difficult to stick with it. But if you have your general discipline and your goal, try to complete the time, the task you've set yourself. And occasionally sit longer. Go for it. If you reach 1 hour and you're peaceful, well, just carry on sitting. Sometimes we should try that as well. It's too easy just to say, hour's up, finished, go and do something else. But if you're peaceful and you feel quite good about it and it's going well, carry on. Monks learn this because that's, it's one of our main activities, meditation. So we used to have this saying, if you're peaceful in the morning before your meal, and you only get 1 meal a day, don't eat, just carry on sitting through. And of course, you're never going to do that every day, but occasionally you might do it, and it's very liberating from, we're often creatures of habit, or, I've got to have my food. Yeah, of course, we all need food, but occasionally it's nice just to go a bit higher in your mind and say, today I'm going to set aside even my meal and meditate. Or sleep is another one. Usually we go to sleep at more or less the same time. We have our thought, I need my 8 hours or whatever. Okay, fine, that's normal, but occasionally you might reach 10 p.m. or something, your normal sleep time, and you say, but tonight I'm going to meditate a bit longer. I'm not going to go to bed yet. I'm not feeling tired, I'll meditate. Could be sitting meditation, could be walking. And you go a bit later than usual. Sometimes you have to try these things just to learn what it's like and improve your mindfulness. And the Buddha himself, he had this thing, he said, before I was enlightened, so he's practicing, he's not enlightened yet, if fear arose when I was sitting, meditation, I wouldn't stop sitting until I'd subdued the fear and let go of that fear. Because his aim was to let go of all delusions and attachments, greed, anger, delusion, fear, jealousy, whatever. Any impurities, his aim is to see them and let them go. That means you have to face things, be willing to sit through things or walk through things. Because what we tend to do is as soon as we are a bit tired or distracted or annoyed, we crumble, we give up. Oh, I can't do it today, I'm too annoyed and I'm going to do something that makes me happy, or eat my favourite food or listen to my music. We tend to go that way, and so our mind doesn't get very strong. Our mindfulness is still very flimsy, fragile. And as soon as we meet a mood that we can't cope with, we crumble, we collapse. So you're learning, you don't have to push to an extreme where you get really stressed, but just keep developing stronger mindfulness, determination in your practice. And one way you get determination is by setting yourself little goals, like, I will sit for this hour, whatever my mind is doing, I will complete this time. In many situations you have to do that, you have to remind yourself what you're doing. Precepts are the same. So you go for a walk in the jungle, or the country area, and there's going to be mosquitoes and bugs. I keep my 5 precepts, I'm not going to kill anything today. It's all right at home, there's nothing bothering you, but when you go out into the jungle, maybe there's a few things that will bother you. You have to be determined. However many mosquitoes come my way, I'm just going to shoo them away, or I'll put some cream on, but I'm not going to kill them. And you need determination to complete that. Precepts are like that. Or you're going to work, or going to a family gathering, and there's someone there who will provoke you, get you angry. Just seeing them already, it stirs you up, and then talking to them even worse. You know it's going to happen because you know they're going to be there. But this time, you're not going to give in to your anger. You're going to keep the precepts. You're not going to say anything you shouldn't say. You're going to be calm, speak well. If you haven't got anything good to say, maybe don't say too much. But you're not going to lie, abuse, swear, gossip. You're going to keep disciplined. And you set yourself that goal just for one meeting or one event. See if you can complete it without losing mindfulness. It's hard sometimes, but you make that little goal for yourself. And then your mind is always growing and improving. At the back, there's a question.
I just need to get some clarifications on the goal of practicing meditation, because my understanding used to be like when we do meditations, our ultimate goal is to get peaceful mind, not to have any thought at all, like completely black. I don't know if it was correct, but just now you have mentioned we can hold on any good thought, Like if there's any good thought comes to mind, we can hold on to it.
thinking about like the happy memory, the time we spend with the family, with all these beautiful memory value, very good meditations, or we should. Sorry, without getting.
Well, one thing you might notice the more you meditate is if what we'd call a wholesome, good quality thought arises, it doesn't bother you too much. You can hold on to it and maybe develop it for a while because it's good. It makes you feel calm and it may give you some understanding or, like you say, just remembering something good. It has a good effect on your mind in that moment. So there's not really, maybe no need to let it go. But good thoughts, if you need to let them go, you usually can. They're not bothering you and you can put them down and move on to something else or back to the breath, say, quite easily. So a genuinely good thought is like that. So it's not just like thinking of something pleasant that you like and you want more of it and you want to keep getting it, then you're stuck in that way of thinking. It's not like that. What I'm saying is more like a wholesome thought. It could be a memory or just a thought maybe to help somebody or just a bit of insight. Oh, life is suffering. Like today we let go of crabs, so you might have a thought, oh, crabs suffer. There's this side of life. All living beings have suffering to deal with. Maybe just some kind of awareness of suffering comes up. But it's very easy to put that thought down. It doesn't bother you too much. That's what I mean when I say a good thought. And occasionally you can develop it into a form of meditation. A meditation on kindness and compassion, or reflecting on impermanence would be a very typical one. You're meditating on the breath and then you realize, oh, this thing I've been worried about for so long. The thoughts come and go. When I don't think about it, I don't need to worry about it. Maybe the problem is not that problem, it's my worries. Maybe you see that and you realize, oh, these thoughts are impermanent, let them go. You just kind of think something through, but with a bit of mindfulness and wisdom. Or you just come into a realization, oh yeah, life is impermanent. When I die, I can't take anything with me, so I shouldn't get so upset about all the things I desire that I haven't got yet. Or maybe you buy something and then you realize it's a bit faulty or something wrong with it. It's annoying, but you might say, yeah, but everything's impermanent in the end, doesn't really matter that much in the big picture. So in your meditation, you may just think like that, realize that and let go of something. So there are these kind of more wholesome, skillful thoughts which will arise, and you didn't plan it, it just pops up because you're peaceful. And sometimes you can develop them, or sometimes you just note them and then let them go, but they don't bother you so much. But the more noble thinking, what we call the 5 hindrances, are always coming up at other times, and they bother us all the time. Desires for things we haven't got, aversion, anger with people or ourselves, sleepiness and dullness, worries, agitations, doubts about life. These are what we call the 5 hindrances, and they are coming up a lot of the time, and they do bother us, and they are hard to let go of. So we have to work in it. So there's a difference. It's just for clarity, because some people, like you say, some people think you've got to meditate and have no thoughts in your mind, get to emptiness. In one sense that is true, but that's quite a refined high level of mind to experience. And on the way to that you may develop very good thoughts first before you let go of them, and you may have to work through many hindrances. And one of the hindrances is you're thinking a lot, because it's normal to think a lot. Then you get annoyed because you're thinking a lot, and you get annoyed because you get annoyed thinking a lot, and you just keep creating more suffering as you meditate, and you're kind of spiraling out, going downhill for no reason at all other than you didn't realize what you're doing. So you have to be a bit careful with these ideals. I should have no thought in my mind, I should have emptiness, because they can become something you cling to and then you suffer because of them. So be careful with that.
Harapati, Right. So Buddha taught about non-self, right? As a layman, this very self that all the thoughts, right, are very real. How do we comprehend anatta?
My experience and many of my friends, you start where you can, small things. So, every month you go and get your hair cut. Just pay attention when they're cutting your hair. And there's hair on your head. When it's on your head, it's always my hair. We comb it, we wash it, we kind of identify with it as my hair. Then you get it cut, it goes on the floor of the barber shop. You don't want it anymore. Occasionally it falls out into your soup, by mistake. Who put that hair there? Waiter, there's a hair in my soup. It might even be your own hair, but you don't like it, you don't want it there. Just something very simple like hair can already start to give you some insight into not self. What does not self mean? It means non-ownership. Self implies an ownership. So we can have a very refined self, you feel like you own your samadhi, or you own your state of mind that is very pure and refined. So you can have a very refined sense of self. Or it can be something very coarse. You're angry and you believe that angry emotion, the feeling, the thought, I am angry, this is me, and then you do things because of that attachment. So the sense of self can be very coarse, very and destructive sometimes. It can be very refined. There's a whole broad array of selves that we can identify with. It can be physical, attaching to the body maybe, possessions, land and stuff. Or it can just be mental, a soul. But it's a sense of ownership coming from delusion. And so one thing that helps show you that is seeing, before you see not self, most people will see impermanence. So you see your hair getting cut, go to the ground, it's like, oh, that hair is no longer on my head, and I don't care about it now it's gone. The sense of ownership has gone. You don't really identify much with cut hair. And you can go on from that. You buy something new, at first the sense of ownership is strong. This is my car, my phone, my this, my that. But over time you get used to it. It maybe doesn't give you so much pleasure, maybe it gives you some suffering because it breaks down or gets old. Maybe after a while you don't want it anymore. You still own it in the conventional sense. My car, I still own it, but it's 10 years old. And you park it and they've all got new cars. It's like, my car. And so it's a source of suffering maybe, or your friend comes along and says, who's that car? I say, I don't know, nothing to do with me. This sense of self you can start to see, it can become a problem because of this sense of ownership. But if from day one maybe you're thinking, this car is good, it's useful, looks nice, fine, but it's impermanent, it's not going to last forever, it will get old, it will one day be sold or go to the scrapyard or something. You start off thinking that, it will help you. Because when the actual truth, reality comes about, it's like, yeah, I was ready for that, I knew that would happen. My teacher Ajahn Chah said, use the simile of the cup. You've probably heard this one, the cup is already broken. Obviously you still use the cup, you don't have to smash it on the floor to see that the cup is broken, but you just know it can break because it's very fragile, and one day it probably will break, maybe in a long time. What breaks and disappears, can you really call that a self? So the idea of self is something that you control, own, have, are, be. Anything you identify in that sense, and it tends to be this sense of continuity, long-term, this is me or this is mine. So when you contemplate the cup is already broken, you're starting to see, this cup, nominally or superficially it belongs to me, it's my cup, but ultimately it's not my cup. It will go back to the rubbish dump or back to the earth when it breaks. So it's an investigation, and you start with the simple things that are kind of more obvious, and you maybe work up into more subtle things like just identifying with thoughts and feelings. And even feelings, like you feel happy today for some reason, fine. And you say, I am happy, and I'm a happy man. How about then that feeling changes? You know, in the morning you're happy for some reason. Somebody says something nice to you, or you get a present or something, good news. But by afternoon that happiness is worn off. Where's it gone? If you are that happiness, it should be with you at will all the time. You should be able to just call it up when you want. But you can't, because it's dependent on various conditions, causes. When they change, the happiness goes. So is it really right to say that happy feeling is me? Maybe not. So it's not something just to believe in, it's more like a technique or a tool to help you understand reality more clearly and to free your mind from suffering. Some people say, well, you can say there's no self, but I'm here, I know I'm here, I feel, I think, I touch things, I can do things. Yeah, okay, that is true on one level. But maybe you could say, well, there is something you call a self, but what that thing you call a self is constantly changing, constantly in a process of flux, change, development, arising, ceasing, aging in terms of the body, in terms of the mind, different thoughts, different moods. So some people get this wrong. They say, well, not self means there's nothing there. And there's no one here to do anything anyway, so I might as well just give up. And they become very depressed. And it happens, unfortunately. But it's not that there's nothing there, or there's no need to do anything. It's more that what is there is subject to change, and is ultimately not a solid, constant self that just exists. But that's something you have to investigate and find out. So it can't be done just through logic and reasoning and talking. That can point you in the right direction, but you also have to meditate on it, develop some sharper, clearer mindfulness, then you might notice more clearly.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Right. So, as a layman, right, so we practice Dhamma. So, I think many people have all these situations to be Dhamma. So, how can we confidently felt before you pass away, or that you confidently felt that you are achieving that?
Well, one way to start with, I'd say, is listen to the Dhamma, study the Dhamma, enough for you to practice with some confidence in the teaching of the Buddha and the Buddha. So some people need to study a lot, read a lot, hear a lot. Some people a bit less, maybe they get it quicker. Everyone's a bit different. But you could look into, well, how did the Buddha describe a stream enterer, Sotapanna? Did they have kind of unwavering confidence in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha? That in itself is quite a big thing, right? It means they're willing to listen to the teachings of the Buddha and follow them because they have confidence in the Buddha and his enlightenment. So it means they accept the Noble Eightfold Path, they accept the Four Noble Truths as a kind of working premise for their practice and their life. It means they're working to end suffering and abandon the causes of suffering. So it actually expands into a lot, just taking Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha as your refuge. We usually start off thinking, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha as refuge, well, I can do that. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Oh, yeah. Maybe I'm Sotapanna. But whether you're actually practicing it sincerely, well, that's a different thing. What else did the Buddha say? 5 precepts. The Sotapanna, the stream enterer, will quite naturally keep the 5 precepts. So you say, oh, I keep the 5 precepts, and a mosquito starts biting you, and you're going, your mind is full of hatred for this mosquito, but you keep the 5 precepts. That's not a sotapanna. The sotapanna just mosquito, and they sweep it away, or they let it bite them, or they do something, but they don't have even the intention to kill it. It doesn't arise because they purified the mind from the intention to break the 5 precepts. That's the difference, say, from most people, isn't it? Most people try to keep the 5 precepts, and that's good, but there'll be times when you're tested and there's a little bit of kind of maybe they're a bit wavering or shaky in their precepts. That's another one. The sotapanna is not stingy. So generally, you go and ask a sotapanna for something, they'll give it to you if they can. If they have it, they'll share. They're not stingy with their time, their knowledge, their things, all that. They'll generally share because they can see the good of sharing and helping and giving. And you see that, right? There were once, true story, a mum and a daughter both believed they were noble ones. This is in the modern era. Lay practitioners keeping 8 precepts, and their teacher, perhaps he was a bit deluded because he kind of didn't dispute this. Mum and daughter considered themselves to be noble ones. But mum and daughter both supported the same monk, and they both wanted to be kind of close to this monk and give him the things that he needs, and this monk was telling them, you're a sotapanna, you're really good. You get even more enthusiastic. Perhaps he was deluded, perhaps he's a little bit taking advantage of the situation. And so they started to learn what the best kind of robes material is to give, food that the monk liked, and all the things that this monk would use. But they started to compete a bit, mum and daughter. And so daughter would ask mum, where'd you get that really good robe cloth that you offered? No, not telling. The mum asked the daughter something, no, not telling. And everyone else around them is going, the 2 noble ones are being very stingy with their knowledge about where they get this and get that and do this and do that. And everyone decided after a while they're probably not quite where they think they are. Sometimes it's like that. Monks, we have a rule, we're not allowed to keep asking things from a sotapanna or a noble one because they'll give. And a monk depends on people's kindness. You could easily, without realizing, take advantage of someone's kindness and generosity. So we actually have a rule, this house has a sotapanna, we don't go there, don't bother them. Because they'll just give. The more you ask, the more they'll give. So that's another way of, I'm just saying these qualities, the faith in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the precepts, the mindfulness of what is wholesome and unwholesome in the mind, the lack of stinginess, these are all ways the Buddha described the mind of a sotapanna. And it comes together as a package, so you probably couldn't quite tell a sotapanna from their behaviour anyway, because you're not going to see the whole package in one go. Unless maybe you're a bit more advanced than a sotapanna, you might see someone who's a sotapanna, but normally you won't really know. Maybe you're a sotapanna already, you just don't know. But you look and you observe where defilements arise. So if you notice a bit of stinginess, you think, maybe this is something I've got to work on. Or if you have doubts about the way of practice or the teacher, something I've got to work on. Or if you're tempted to break the precepts, or you do break the precepts, you're like, maybe there's something I've got to work on. Another quality of the sotapanna is they're honest about the practice, about their defilements. Because if you want to uproot defilements, you've got to be honest about it. General humanity are not honest. We hide things from our boss, our partner, and even ourselves. We don't like to admit that we've got faults, that we've got defilements. We're not always honest. But somebody who's really keen to root out unwholesome ways of behaviour will tend to be honest, even if it's painful and difficult. They say, look, I'm still very greedy, I'm still very angry about something. Because if you become mindful of defilements, then you've got a chance to understand them and abandon them. So honesty and the love of honesty is another quality of Sotapanna. They're not secretly doing all these bad things. That's not a Sotapanna, that's a normal person. So there's plenty to study, plenty to learn with this one.
Whenever there is a sense of body that arises, and this perception, sometimes pleasant, sometimes unpleasant feeling accompanying it, and then this the own views and opinions, and then the trigger other thoughts to arise. And when we are mindful, these thoughts can sometimes be unwholesome and sometimes wholesome. So I'm more interested in the unwholesome one, whereby it will lead to sometimes it is reached until the stage of craving. To explain, will it lead to mental karma, which will take us to
craving is always negative mental karma. Every moment of craving. You may have many successive moments with craving, greed, anger, delusion of one sort or another. You know, the textbook definition of craving is craving for sense objects. That includes not liking a sense object, because if you like something, then you become fussy. So craving can be, I like something else, I don't like this. That's also sensual craving, you're choosing and getting desire for and against. And then there's craving to become. I want to become something, I want to become a Sotapanna. It can still be craving. I want to become enlightened, I want to become peaceful, I want to become a good person. I want to live. Like all those crabs today we're letting go, they've all got what we call bhava danha, as we do. I'm not saying we're better than them or different in that respect. They're struggling to live. And you let them go, they're going for it. They get in the water and they're off. They don't hang around because they know they've got to get away. And that's bhava danha. The craving just to live is bhava danha. And most people never really see that, because you'd only see that maybe when you're threatened with death through illness or accident, or a tiger is chasing you or something, or you'll see your bhava danha, then run. But most of the time you don't notice bhava danha, and yet it's the root cause of all our suffering, the desire to live, to experience things, have things. Again, it's rooted with this sense of self and just being alive, being a person. Wow, that's a lot of craving there, and it's always going on. And vibhava danha, craving not to become. I don't want this state of mind that I'm experiencing. So I don't want this experience on the outside. I don't want somebody not liking me, or maybe you make a mistake. I don't want to be this person who made a mistake. I don't want to be in this traffic jam. I don't want to be facing this problem that has come up in my life. I don't want it. I want to get out of it. I want to get away from. I want to get rid of. That's vibhava danha. These are all craving, and they're coming up all the time. Sometimes it's just a few moments, but that's just a few moments of karma, negative karma. Sometimes it's continuous and it leads on to all kinds of action. The Buddha always said craving leads to action, unskillful action. And that action could just be mental, you just keep thinking about it and building up those thoughts, developing them, or it could lead to speech, lead to physical action. But not all desire is craving. So we also have wholesome desire. So the word for that in Buddhism is chanda, kusala chanda or dhamma chanda or just chanda. And the thought, I want to go and listen to a Dhamma talk to understand the Dhamma more. Tonight you might have had that thought. That's wholesome desire leading on to wholesome action, leading on to maybe more understanding, more mindfulness. Good things come from it. We say it's merit, making merit, but that's just a shorthand for all kinds of good qualities you're developing. The desire to give or share out of compassion, out of faith, the desire to keep precepts, the desire to meditate, practice mindfulness, bring up mindfulness. These are all examples of wholesome desire. And they're different from craving because you're only focusing on developing good qualities of mind that will be for your happiness, true, but you're not thinking, what am I going to get for this? I do my 10 minutes meditation and I want this in return. And often people are quite kind of do a little but expect a lot. If I meditate 10 minutes, next life I've got to be born as soda panna or something. They've got all these kind of crazy ideas. Stop thinking like that, because craving's taking over from the good, wholesome desire you start with, and then craving comes in. So stop thinking like that. But wholesome desire is necessary in the practice. It comes from faith, from listening to the Dhamma, leads on to wholesome action, and it will push us towards Nibbana eventually. Whereas craving takes us away from Nibbana to more suffering, more attachment, more pain, more problems, more birth, death, everything. So you get to know the difference by practicing and observing your mind at work.
Yeah. What happened is with this craving going on, at times the mindfulness come back.
Yep.
So when the mindfulness come back, it sort of neutralizes. Oh, it's due to, you can see it's due to sense of self, the strong sense of self, then you let go of that strength.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. You read the Buddha's own words. He struggled. Ajahn Kalyano, he struggled. I could say, yes, I've struggled. You have to struggle with craving. You can't. Occasionally, you can sort of do a kind of soft, easy approach. But most of the time, it's a struggle. You really have to be firm, determined. Keep going, because we always want to give up. So, we're often lazy with the practice of Dhamma. We're not lazy with craving. We love to follow craving. Let's go and eat some nice food. Let's party. Let's have fun, holiday. Let's sleep. And do all the things we like. Oh, no problem. We're not lazy with craving. But when it's do the good Dhamma, oh, I can't. It's too early, too late, I'm too tired, I'm too busy. That's why we're not enlightened, because we don't struggle with the craving. We tend to struggle more with the Dhamma, don't we? With Dhamma, no, too busy. We give less importance to Dhamma, so we suffer. If we reduce it right down to a sort of simplistic argument, that's what's going on. We're not struggling enough. Craving needs to be worked with. Most of our struggles in life are with other people and the world out there. Wars and conflicts and competition and all of this. We're not struggling inside with ourselves, are we? It's too difficult, or we just don't know, we don't realise what we have to do. We need more of that. As soon as you start struggling with yourself in this way, the way of Dhamma, there's no point to any wars or conflicts or competition with other people. It doesn't make any sense. So if everyone in the world understood that, there'd be no more wars, no more bad news. Everyone would be working with their own greed, anger, delusion. It's perhaps a little idealistic, so we have to just work with what we got.
Understand? Thank you.
I would like to ask something about responsibility. Well, we know we have responsibility towards our family, But sometimes unpleasant feelings do arise when we have to carry out the responsibility. So I know like what Dong Po say, like the 5 things that we regret before our death, that's something like we will regret if you are not doing this, not doing that. But before the deathbed, at this moment, I do know that the feeling of unpleasantness do arise when I have to carry out the responsibility. So what are the methods that I can use not to subside the dislikeness, but to really understand why I have these unpleasant feelings towards the responsibility, and how eventually that I can really let go of the unpleasantness, and then maybe pleasantness will arise when I carry out my responsibility.
Well, at this very moment, are you experiencing or feeling that unpleasantness? At this very moment?
No.
Okay. First, that's the first insight, isn't it? That's just showing you this unpleasant feeling, painful feeling, stressful feeling that comes with family duties, responsibilities. It's not always there. It's there sometimes, other times it's not. Keep developing that awareness and you'll become very clear. It arises when there's certain ways of thinking, certain reactions and conditions, but other times it's not there. You can use that knowledge to your advantage. It will help you. Because every time it does come up, one thing you can say is that this will not last. This will pass. What doesn't last, the next question you might say is, how much importance do you need to give to it? Because it will pass. All by itself, even without you having to do anything, it's just going to fade away. The smart Alec will say, yeah, but it will come back again. And true, a lot of suffering is like that, is recurring, I know. But the thing with mindfulness is you're not a smart Alec, you're just observing how things are. Once you're mindful, any moment of mindfulness, and sometimes we just have small moments of mindfulness, but when you're mindful, you can see impermanence. You can see, oh, it comes, it goes. It's, you might say, just a feeling. So the more mindfulness you can bring up, and the best way to do that is to have a regular meditation practice, but also ask yourself at moments when you feel very unpleasant feeling, overwhelmed by it, stressed, see if you can get in the habit of stopping and say, oh, it's just a feeling. It comes, it goes. That's almost like seeing not self in that moment. But not self is like, it's not that there's nothing there, it's just you don't have to take ownership of that feeling. It's just a feeling. The more mindfulness you have, the more you can do that successfully, and that feeling may recur sometimes, but it won't bother you so much the more insight you have. But you have to keep practicing this, you can't just do it once and everything goes away. And that's what we want, isn't it? We want the easy way to Nibbana, the simple way. Oh, I know it's impermanent, finished, now I'll move on to something I enjoy. Life isn't that simple. But your understanding can gradually grow if you're willing to face up to it, look at it, learn. You can understand this situation better. So that's one part of it. Another one is maybe trying to see the good in this situation. You're talking about responsibilities to families, so I assume it's to parents, looking after them and helping them maybe. Would that be right? Yeah. Everyone has this dilemma. You've got to look after parents. Sometimes we argue, we don't see eye to eye. It's hard work, tiring. Okay, true. But it's also very good karma. It's a very good thing to do for them and for us. And the opposite is a very bad thing to do, to turn against your parents, to neglect them, especially in their old age or when they're sick. Is a very bad kind of karma that will haunt you, like you say, regrets of the dying. A big one is people who've turned against their parents in their life often only realize when it's too late. Don't let it be too late. It's very good to look after your parents. And then you need various techniques and reflections to help you while you're doing that. So one is just try and think of some of the good things they've done for you. You know, if we're honest, even if we don't agree with their views and opinions, what they say, and you know, even our character may be different. Okay, true, but what they've done for us, you know, your mum carried you around in her womb for 9 months, gave you birth, fed you, clothed you, cleaned you, blah, 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 gave you thousands upon thousands of meals through your life, whatever she and your dad have done for you. However much or little you feel they've done a lot. That's something to acknowledge, and really if you acknowledge it with mindfulness, it probably should make you feel quite good. Oh, it could have been worse, they could have dumped you. I don't know your situation, so maybe I got it wrong, but it could have been worse. So just reflect sometimes on your good fortune that your parents did look after you, gave you birth, brought you into the world. Whatever good things you've got in your life now, a lot of that has come from your parents. Not everything, but a lot. That will help you when you have to face the responsibilities, the jobs, the duties. And then more simple techniques is just don't bother arguing with your parents. You don't need to. You can disagree with them, but just don't argue with them. So you smile, you listen, but don't let them trigger you. I know they will. They'll tell you, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? You know, parents nag. That's what parents do. Actually, it's coming from love, isn't it? They want the best for you, and they think they know best, which is why we get so annoyed. But it's coming from a good place, generally. Sure, if they're being genuinely cruel to you, we might have to get out of the situation, but it's very rare that a parent is actually trying to be cruel to their kid. They may make mistakes, sure, but you know, generally they've got love for you, they want the best, so they keep nagging you, reminding you, saying this, saying that, and you get upset sometimes. But just change your view and just say, look, it's all good, they're right. Whatever they say is right, it's okay. Mum is queen, dad is king. They can have whatever they want, say whatever they want, and I guarantee your mind will become quieter and peaceful very quickly. At first it may take a little bit of work, hard work to do that, but just get to the point where you can accept them as they are and you're willing to help. If they need help, you help the best you can. As long as they're not asking you to do unwholesome things, and sometimes parents do, they get it wrong. You know, I know people who their parents are saying, "Where's my gambling money? Where's my drink money?" Well, that's not very good. You might have to find a better way to help them. But if it's just normal stuff, you know, they need a bit of health care, food, shopping care, cleaning, whatever assistance they need, or maybe they just want to talk to someone. Fine, give it to them. They did that much for us when we were a baby. We can give something back. Try to develop a more positive outlook on this difficulty you're facing. Be patient with the tired feelings. When you're tired, worn out, okay. Sometimes you need rest, so you know, when you need your retreat or your rest, we'll try and get someone to fill in for you, if you can. And then go back after your retreat, your rest, and you do a bit more. If you don't do anything, you don't fix this up, you will probably have regrets later on once your parents are gone, because they'll probably die before you. Then you'll have regrets. You know, oh, why didn't I sort this out? Why didn't I do more? Why wasn't I kinder? Why didn't I forgive them? And you should sometimes forgive your parents verbally when they're alive, because once they're dead, you can't do that. So this morning, there's someone I know very well in Melbourne, their mum is dying, and they said, should I go back? I said, yes, because their mum's in another country. I said, yeah, go back, ask forgiveness. Or get all the brothers and sisters, ask forgiveness. Don't waste your opportunity, because you can think of it now, you've got the time, do it. Because once they're gone, it's too late. You lost your chance. So do it. So you've got the chance too. Practice forgiveness, asking forgiveness, putting up with, and you'll grow as a person. I guarantee it. You'll improve in your life. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's the way to go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Another question here.
Evening, yeah, I think again how to let go. How to practice letting go.
Well, I sort of talked about it today, didn't I? By letting go, you release yourself from craving and attachment. So sometimes we just let go a little bit of attachment goes, you're happier. Sometimes we let go a lot, and we're happier because we let go of a lot. But it's just a way of describing a mental process of to stop identifying and holding on to thoughts and feelings in the body, because how did the Buddha describe it? Well, he said these 5 khandhas, your body and mind, are heavy. You feel heavy the more you attach and identify with your body. You feel heavy as you attach to each of these feelings and emotions as me, this is me, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm worried. All this, we say, it makes us feel heavy in the mind. So letting go is like putting something heavy that you've been carrying down. And even a small thing, like say you carry this microphone you're holding, okay, for 5 minutes you don't notice the attachment, you don't notice it's heavy, it doesn't bother you. But say you carried this home with you, and then all day tomorrow, and the next day, after a while your fingers would all hurt, your hand would hurt, you would be complaining, why am I carrying this microphone? Why did Ajahn make me carry this microphone? And then Ajahn will say, well, put it down then. And you put it down, oh, it feels so good. That's why we let go. You feel good when you let go of an attachment. Whether it's a small thing like a microphone or a big thing like a person. The mechanism is more or less the same. It's just some of the big things in life are harder to do. So you have to work at it and investigate a bit more and find the means to let go. But letting go, a lot of it letting go is just through understanding. It's not anything difficult. It's not some kind of big physical feat or something. It's just developing some clarity in your mind and say, oh, there are some things I'm just going to have to accept in life, like the death of a loved one. It's very hard to accept, but it will happen. Everyone you know and love will separate from you. So the Buddha helped us, didn't he? He said, just recite this teaching every day. I'm going to get sick. I haven't gone beyond that. I'm going to get older. I haven't gone beyond that. One day I must die. I haven't gone beyond that. I must separate from everybody and everything I love and like. That's for sure, because everything is impermanent. If you recite that to yourself every day, and ideally many times a day, but at least once a day, your mind gets used to that truth, and it's like, when you notice someone pass away, that's the way it is. Little by little, your mind gets used to the truth and accepts the truth. That's letting go in practice. So sometimes you just let go by practicing something over and over again until you really know it and understand it. Does that help? Okay, so that's enough for tonight.